All right, turning things over, we're going to go ahead and move forward with our next conversation. We have Sanjay Wagle with the California Association of Realtors. Sanjay is a Senior Vice President for Government Affairs at the California Association of Realtors. In this role, Sanjay is the association's chief lobbyist, and he supervises the policy and political work of the Government Affairs Department. Sanjay has been with the California Association of Realtors since 2003. However, he did start his career there as an attorney in CAR's Member Legal Services Department in Los Angeles before joining the Government Affairs team all the way out in Sacramento. And that took place in 2016. Sanjay, before that, received his law degree from the University of Southern California, a master's from UCLA, and a BA from the University of Chicago. Sanjay, always great to be with you. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into the first questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's start with housing supply. This has obviously been an issue we've been talking about for years at the local and state level, and now it's even garnered the attention at the national level where it's becoming a priority there as well. Can we expect to see any movement on this issue in 2021?
Ryan, we're actually somewhat optimistic that we will actually see some movement this year. CAR is part of a broad coalition of groups that is really pushing for housing supply this year. There are going to be a number of introduced bills to try to make it easier to build in California. So we're cautiously optimistic that we will finally see some progress this year. One example of some positive developments was Governor Newsom's most recent budget, which includes a housing accountability unit to help incentive, it's a bit of carrot and stick for locals to make sure that they to build the amount of housing that they're obligated to build. So we're optimistic. One of the more important bills we feel is also to help develop commercial to residential, which we're hopeful in a post-COVID environment might get a greater reception.
Well, that is certainly welcome news. Glad to hear it because, as you know, and this is something you and I also have spoken about on a regular basis, is what happens when we fail to address the housing crisis and what it leads to, and that being the failed policies such as rent control. Do you expect moving forward in 2021, are we going to be revisiting that issue or anything like rent control?
Rent control, I don't think so, in the sense of, I don't see any expansion beyond the rent cap bill that came into law about, I think 2 years ago now. However, we are likely to see ongoing measures that would have some sort of eviction controls or the ability of a landlord to evict the tenant for non-payment of rent. There are two competing proposals, one which would potentially let it go for a whole year, and then a more modest proposal, which basically would extend the existing law for another 3 months and kind of on a rolling basis, which is the more sort of modest proposal. But some type of eviction control bill, frankly, is likely, but I don't actually anticipate anything like a broader rent control. I know that sometimes feels like not much of a distinction, but it actually is an important one.
Thank you, Sanjay. And I know that when the rent cap conversation was coming down, I learned early on that we have a lot of our members that are involved in the market to where they're directly involved with property management, or actually maybe it's their own investment properties. I heard a lot of concern on that and a lot of interest. So thank you for keeping us updated on that.
Yeah, and just to let you know, in a lot of those areas, I mean, yeah, we do push back, and even in that bill, at least we were there is an exemption for single family homes, as you know.
Tremendously important, and great job with securing that victory. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, can you just kind of teeing off that, and you're, I guess, continuing down that line, can you take a moment to share about our priorities at the state level for 2021? I know that quite often the state legislature tries to get a little creative with raising funds. Do you see any of that hitting our industry?
There is always a concern for taxes. The state's budget actually this year does not look too bad. It actually is somewhat favorable, but attempts to the long run picture always means more government needs more revenue. Our biggest concern, frankly, and you and I have talked about this, is bad ideas which have been percolating up from the local level. In various cities in California, we've seen vacant land taxes, what I would call creative transfer taxes, which are transfer taxes done in such a way that people think, oh, well, that may not affect me. So those types of taxes that affect real property are something we're very watchful for. Perennially, we always deal with attempts to remove the mortgage interest deduction on second homes, and sometimes on the high value mortgages to bring it into conformity with federal law, which is not favorable for California. So we stand ready to oppose all of those measures. So yeah, we're always watchful on that.
And we actually just saw that recently at the local health level here in San Diego, where they tried to increase property taxes to pay for a $900 million affordable housing bond. And we know that that conversation or that push is going to continue moving forward. So we'll definitely have our own issues. Hopefully our issues don't percolate up to you. So hopefully we'll work together on that.
Well, fortunately, it seems like most of those bad ideas are not from San Diego, but let's just say the Bay Area is quite the generator of those, and Los Angeles seems to be following suit. So
certainly won't argue that. All right. Well, I have a couple of questions that have come in, and I want to go ahead and hand things over to the first individual. I'm going to go ahead and turn on your video. So Emma, go ahead.
Hi, Sanjay. Thank you so much for being here today with us and for your presentation. We really appreciate it. My name is Emma Lefkowitz. I'm with the Barron team at Compass, and I also represent the Scripps Ranch Caravan. My question for you today is about the availability and cost of fire insurance. This is an issue that's very close to our hearts here in Scripps Ranch, and I know to the entire San Diego region. I'm curious what's going on with the proposal in front of the legislature right now regarding fire insurance, and also what CAR is doing on this issue.
Yes, so last year we thought was going to be the big year of fire insurance, addressing the fire insurance industry. There were competing proposals from the insurance industry, as well as effectively the Department of Insurance. Due to COVID, that big discussion never occurred, frankly, just because of the timing and the fact that it is going to be an extremely involved discussion. Broadly, we don't know what the proposals will be this year, but if they're similar to last year, in very broad terms, the insurance industry basically says, give us more rate flexibility. That's their key driver. Give us more rate flexibility, waive some of the Prop 103 protections, and we'll try to get you insurance less than the FAIR plan, which, as you probably know, is the insurer of last resort in California. The insurance and Department of Insurance seems to be moving in the direction which is similar to not exactly similar, but similar to a program in Colorado, in a part of Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado, which is basically, hey, if a community or houses meet certain fire standards and objective standards, shouldn't they be able to get insurance? Like if they meet certain standards, a community has a fire safe score or whatever, they should be able to get insurance. So those are, and the insurance industry is very opposed to that. But that's the discussion that's going to happen this year. Just to let you know, we actually have an ongoing wildfire working group made up of realtors from the high fire areas to help us. We have existing policy, but a lot of these ideas are new where we get input from them to look at these. And so this is the big year, and it sounds like a weird expression to use, but we are being courted by both sides because we are kind of the group that straddles business and consumers. So both the insurance industry and the Department of Insurance would love to have us on their side. So something's going to happen this year. We'll see what.
All right. Well, Emma, that was a great question. That is something that I've heard a lot of our brokers bring up. So it's something that's been getting a lot of attention in our region as well. So Sanjay, thank you. Please continue to keep us updated on that and let us know how we can help.
Absolutely.
I'm going to try to squeeze in one more question. I've seen one come in from Debbie. Debbie, I'm going to go ahead and turn on your video. Go ahead.
Hello, Sanjay. My name is Debbie Giametti, and I'm the president of the Coronado Real Estate Association. My question is about Proposition 19. Overall, the proposition seems to provide much needed flexibility for many of our clients, especially seniors who are looking to downsize or even upgrade to a newer home. But the law includes some controversial measures that would limit the property tax benefits for inherited property. And it's a big issue here in Coronado. Can you let us know why these were included? Thank you.
Hi, Debbie. I think it's important to think about the fact that the intergenerational transfer was something which was already very vulnerable. In October of 2017, the Legislative Analyst Office, the LAO, did a report on the intergenerational transfer, where basically it said to the legislature, hey, if you can repeal this, there is a very large sum of money that could be available for the state of California. Plus, there are a lot of inequities attached to this particular tax mechanism. That was followed up by a Los Angeles Times article, which got a lot of traction. And in that article, they called it the Lebowski loophole, because they mentioned Jeff Bridges, who had a property which he had inherited in Malibu, where he was paying a nominal amount of property tax and was able to charge $16,000 a month in rent. That article started to get a lot of traction, and included in that article was a comment by the person who was actually behind that original initiative for this law, which said, yeah, this wasn't really what we intended. So there was definitely a lot of movement, and there was actually a bill introduced, which would not have completely repealed it, but would have significantly, which would have impacted the intergenerational transfer. So all I can say is that was something which was frankly on the chopping block, or if you want to use Sacramento, we used a lot of cliches, kind of low-hanging fruit for the legislature to try to pick off.
Well, Sanjay, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave this group with?
Just one thing I just always like to point out is you are our strength in Sacramento. When we go across the street, although obviously we're not able to go across the street in this COVID era, but when we Zoom or when we call people, especially on a bill of importance, one we really support or one we really oppose, as soon as we do that, they kind of know already when we go over, because they're like, yeah, we got the calls and letters. We know how you feel, like, you know, so you are our strength. Unlike we often will get other groups like, well, I don't want to name them, but there's other groups that come to us and they want to get us involved in their bills because they don't have that kind of active and vocal membership like us, especially not on the local level. So all I can urge you is stay involved. And when you get a red alert from us, call, email, whatever it is that we sort of ask you to do, because it actually does matter. And again, that is our power, is really our membership, which is you.
Sanjay, great message, and fantastic job out there in Sacramento. No small lift that you're required to do every single year.
Yeah, these are
dealing with the state legislature. So thank you again, and we'll look forward to seeing you next year at New Laws in person.
Yeah,
here in San Diego.
All right.
Thank you, Sanjay.